The CFP, that's college football playoff process, is broken. Agreed. This is Josh Pate. All right, Josh Pate's college football show. Go ahead and talk about the playoffs and the system that's completely just so bad. Makes me sick to my stomach. The committee at least avoided the worst possible thing, which would have been leaving Miami out. They kind of backed themselves into a corner, and they had to put Alabama in, or they would have basically said, hey, conference championships don't matter. So, they had to do that. And then once they put Alabama in, and it was between Notre Dame and Miami, no way they could have put Notre Dame in since Miami beat them. So they had to put Miami in and leave Notre Dame out, which I guarantee you they didn't want to do. But when you allocate 5 auto bids, 42% of the field, you leave yourself wide open to these situations. And I think I know how to fix the playoffs. We'll see if Josh talks about it. But let's go ahead and get into it.
Yeah. So we have 2 G5 teams in the playoff.
Yeah.
Tulane, Ole Miss, JMU, Oregon. We do regrettably have the point spreads for these games, courtesy of FanDuel Sportsbook. Tulane is a 17.5-point dog against Ole Miss. And you may be thinking to yourself, didn't I already see that game? Yeah, Ole Miss beat them by 35 the first time around.
Lane Kiffin's Ole Miss. I mean, worth noting at least. Is that line right with A&M? Last I saw it was 3. Hey, by the way, I hope y'all were looking at my Twitter, because on Twitter during the SEC championship game, I told y'all, I said, listen, y'all might want to go ahead and buy Miami stock, because if Bama gets rolled, Miami's going to get in. And at the time, Miami was like 100-1 or something to win the Natty, and we got all over it. And so now we got giant Miami bags, and they're down to like 20-1. All right, so I just checked. The DK opener was 4, and it looks like the highest opener I can find. It's now 3.5. So 4 or 3.5 everywhere. I don't know where the hell 5.5 was. If you saw Miami plus 5.5, good on you.
Nextly, JMU at Oregon. Oregon a casual 21.5-point favorite in a playoff game. So people have some really, really strong thoughts on this. I've had strong thoughts on this for a while. I've told you for a while. It makes no sense that college football is structured the way it is for many reasons, but it makes no sense that college football pretends like 136 teams are playing the same sport.
Exactly.
It's so obvious they're not.
Okay, let me. The problem is they want, and people think they want what college basketball has with, the small teams or the small schools being able to beat the big guys, whatever. That is fine in that tournament because there's so many teams. You're not leaving out legitimate teams who can win the national championship to put in Wofford. Wofford getting in, or Southeastern North Dakota State or whatever, fine. Like, put them in. They're in a field of however many teams. It doesn't matter in the grand scheme of things. When you have 12 teams in this football and they have to play multiple games, it is totally different, right? Wofford beating Georgetown in the first round is awesome. But Wofford's not going to go to the national championship, and no one expects them to. If they win one round, they're out. Cool, awesome, fun story. In college football playoffs, not so much. Can JMU beat Oregon? Can Tulane beat Ole Miss? Sure. Can they win 4 games? Can they win the national championship? No. It's not going to happen. They're not going to catch lightning in a bottle that many times. So you're putting in 2 teams that cannot win the national championship and leaving out teams like Notre Dame who absolutely can win the national championship. And for what? For why? I have no idea. I have no clue, because I really don't know why they're putting them in. Okay? So what I would do, really quick, is I would have a ranking system like the BCS, very transparent algorithm that does not have preseason rankings. The ranking system would start in week 5 or week 6. The top 18 teams at the end of the year. Top 6, congratulations, you're in the tournament. Then the next 12 teams. Okay, so now we have 18 total teams, the top 18 ranked teams. So the top 6 are in the next 12 teams. They play in one game elimination games to make the tournament. All right. So then out of those 12 teams, then you have 6 winners who then go into the tournament. So you got your top 6 seeds and then your 6 winners. That's your 12 teams that would be in the playoffs. If you're not in the top 18, then you probably don't have an argument to be in the national championship. That's how I would do it. I think that's the most fair way to get the best teams into the tournament. If you lose your play-in game, whatever, you can't, whine and cry. If you're not in the top 18, you can't whine and cry. Oh, and I think it's also important, you got to have standardized scheduling. So schedule is a big part of this too, where some teams play hard schedules, some teams play easy schedules, whatever. Everyone's got to play the same schedule. 9 conference games, 1 Power 5, 1 Group of 5, and then 1 free up-to-you game. That can be for a rivalry, that can be for whatever. But everyone's got to play the same setup. All right, so got to standardize that. I would also get rid of conference championship auto bids. I've already said that. The auto bid, I think, is a disaster. Pigeonholes the committee, forces you to put in bad teams, leave out good teams. Cool in college basketball, bad in college football, unless the tournament is, an 18, 24 team tournament, whatever, but it's not. So auto bids, see you later. Conference championships, why do we have them? I'd get rid of those too. I would do like a regular season conference championship or whatever. The conferences are too big. It doesn't make any sense. Get rid of it.
And so I've gotten 2 bits of pushback on that. One bit of criticism is, why do you want to hold down smaller teams? Why do you want to choke off the one chance they have to compete? I don't. I'll get to that in a second. And then the other one is, well, if they don't get that opportunity, then you're financially cutting them off and they die on the vine. I don't want that. You got to get some smart people in the room to understand we can restructure the playoff, or we can rebuild the playoff actually entirely to where you don't have G5 inclusion in the main playoff and still have a very, very nice revenue-producing product that is exclusively G5. A world where JMU could actually win the title or Tulane could actually win the title. Now, everybody logically watching this or listening to this knows Oregon's not playing the same sport as JMU.
The biggest lie the devil ever told is that college football is all about the school and the alma mater and the fight songs and pageantry and tradition and my grandpappy went here, so I go here. Spoiler, college football is the NFL. That's it. That's it. And this idea that UTEP and JMU and Coastal Carolina are doing the same thing that Georgia and Oregon and Texas are, LOL. That's like saying some team in NFL Europe is doing the same thing as the New England Patriots in 2002. Not the case. And the quicker that college football realizes that and tries to fix the system to be the most efficient system possible, instead of acting like it's the same way it was in 1995, the better for everybody. But yeah, I mean, it's the NFL light. It almost isn't even the NFL light. It's almost worse than the NFL because the money is so out of control. It's so having no cap and having all that stuff. It's actually kind of like the NFL on steroids as far as pay to play and these contracts and buyouts and whatever.
Everybody knows Ole Miss is not playing the same sport as Tulane. Everybody knows that. But for some reason, we're still forced to pretend they are when it comes playoff time. So you can say what I just said without having disdain or hate in your heart for the G5. I feel the total opposite. I love G5 football. I'd like to build a world. I'd like to build an ecosystem where it thrives.
Yeah, that ecosystem is a separate entity from college football. It's like a minor league to the minor league. College football should basically be, if you really wanted to make it as fair as possible, it should be about 40-something teams in 2 regional conferences, and that's it. And then you just play like the NFL. You have a conference winner. They play in the Super Bowl. The national championship. That's it. That's how you do it.
Not cutting it out of this system to watch it die. That's not how that has to happen. But the mental gymnastics that proponents of G5 inclusion put themselves through are so mind-numbing that I just remove myself from the conversation, because the way I look at it is, No G5 team's ever going to win this national championship. Certainly they're not.
Yeah.
So, like, it's never like they're going to make a run in the playoff. The worst that happens is it takes away and robs us of what would be far more premier first-round playoff games.
Yeah.
And then JMU and Tulane will get disposed of in the first round because they're far inferior teams, and then we'll move on about the playoff. So it's not like I'm going to get burned. There is no Boise, Oklahoma 2007 coming to rescue you on this argument. So the argument you're making is a very bad faith argument if you're making this one. Well, upsets have happened before. That's not even it's
Yeah, upsets can happen once for sure. JMU can win this game, Tulane can win this game, but they're not going to win all the games to go to the national championship. They're probably not going to win 2 games, right? So if you are risking or you are trading a legitimate national championship level team like Notre Dame for maybe like the 3-5% chance that you see an upset in the first round in one of these situations, if that's your risk reward, whatever. But I think that's kind of a foolhardy risk reward.
So far away from the point that it doesn't even deserve a reply. But here's the reply. I don't care if JMU goes and beats Oregon. It doesn't disprove my point. My point is they don't deserve inclusion in this format.
Yeah,
because
correct.
They're
not one of the 12 best teams. That's it. At the end of the day, what we should want to see are the 12 best teams vying for the national championship. And Tulane and James Madison are not one of the 12 best teams. They get in because of this busted system, but that's not good. It's not an efficient system.
Could take Auburn and have them play JMU's schedule, and they're probably an 11-1 team or possibly undefeated. Auburn. You look at some of the advanced metrics, they would tell you Auburn's about the 26th to 30th best team in the country right now. They'd probably be favored top to bottom against JMU's schedule. The point there is we're not playing the same sport. We're not looking at the same sport. So the one bad faith argument is someone will cherry pick this one example of an upset happening, and they'll say, see, you can't say that wouldn't happen. My point is not even that it's impossible for them to pull the upset if they get in the playoff. My point is they shouldn't be in the playoff to begin with because the road that they took looks way different than the road these other teams have to take.
Just like the college basketball thing. If it was a 12-team March Madness, you would not want Florida Gulf Coast in there. The only reason that works is because of how big the tournament is. The college football playoffs are 12 teams. That alone should eliminate the whole upsets happen, March Madness, a little guy, whatever.
That's part one. Part two is with all this money floating around right now, people are insane if they don't think a G5 playoff would sell and sell big. Do you understand how?
He just, I mean, it's funny that, this is part of where people got to be honest. It's like, look, I love the G5. I love the small schools. I love Utah State. I'm for them. Now, if we could just move them over here into their own playoff, which is exactly what I said at the beginning of this video, you got to be honest. It's 2 separate sports. It's 2 separate things. College football is not what you think it is. College football is about 30 to 40 teams with lots of money paying for paying for amateur players to boost their alma mater up so they can win a national championship. It has gotten to the point to where it's downright embarrassing. Okay? So if that's how it's going to be, which it is now that NIL and the transfer portal and the coaches buyout and all this stuff is a disaster, if that's what it is, all right, then make it that. Then just make it that. Make the Big Ten 20 teams. Make the SEC 20 teams. Have those 2 as your 2 conferences. Go from there. That's it. The Big Ten's already 18 teams. So just throw 2 more teams in there. Absorb the ACC. Absorb some of these teams into the SEC. And then call it what it is. And just have your 2 conferences and have the mini NFL. and take New Mexico and Utah State and all these other small schools and Southern Miss and whatever, throw them into the G5 and have a whole separate college football. And so you could even do, how about this? I'll do you one more. How about this? Relegation. You do relegation just like in the Premier League and soccer leagues. The bottom 3 teams in the whatever we call the actual college football, the bottom 3 teams there, they play in I might just figure this whole thing out. The bottom 3 teams play in a tournament. Whoever loses that or however you want to do it, the bottom 6 teams or whatever, the bottom 3 teams, the losers, however you get there, probably a little mini tournament, they get relegated to the G5 league. The G5 league, you get your 3 teams, however you get there, a tournament, whatever, they get promoted to the big boys. And you go from there. That'd be cool. That'd be fun. That'd be very interesting. So maybe that's how you do it. And you have your G5, you have your college football, you have the NFL. We have football all year long.
How desperate other networks are for quality postseason college football inventory. I used to work at one up until very recently that is void of it entirely. And you don't think that if we took a package of G5 playoff games and put them on any network, that it wouldn't sell? Of course it would.
Well, yeah, but
there are going to be a lot.
But they're winning a minor league. They're not winning. I mean, you see the issue with that, right? Like you see how you're absolutely devaluing those schools and making them lesser. I don't care what championship they win, right? Like people watch the D2 national championship. They watch North Dakota State, but it doesn't mean, it's not the same as national championship.
Proposals coming up about, hey, do me one favor right here. Look down. Are you subscribed to the channel?
I don't know. Right now I have to do this?
If you're not, please click subscribe. It helps us keep the show free and
free
of corporate interference. All right, that's it for me. Back to the clip.
Oh, shit, we're back.
The entire world of
the hell just happened?
The way that since the SCORE Act died in Congress, the way that we can move forward, and you hear all kinds of pitches about private equity and people just looking to invest in college football. Invest in a G5 playoff. Everybody wins. I'm not trying to box you out, by the way.
Well, except the G5, because they just got kicked out of college football.
Because I would love a world where promotion and relegation existed.
I just said that. Hold on a second. Are you stealing my idea?
That looks like is, I don't want to pick any one individual program, but if you're a program that just continues to suck year in and year out, and you keep beating your chest, go, hey, man, we're still in the Big Ten or the SEC no matter what, well, maybe.
Yeah, like Kentucky or whatever, like Vanderbilt for a while until now. Like you, at some point, you can't keep going 0 and whatever. You get bumped into the G5, and all of a sudden, a G5 team, they jump up.
Maybe you shouldn't automatically be. Maybe if you're that bad for that long, maybe you ought to drop down, and Tulane ought to jump up. I wouldn't have a problem with that. A little.
That's way better than if you do the 2 leagues. You have to have promotion relegation. Because otherwise, you're just blocking off one group from the other group, and that's just it. There's no way, no way in or out. I think you add promotion and relegation. I think it's a good idea.
Advancement and escape hatch built on that system, but to sit here and pretend like 136 teams play the same sport is so stupid.
Yeah.
So the money's there to figure this out. Because really, what the argument always boils down to is a fundamental argument. No one really looks at JMU and Tulane in the playoff and thinks to themselves, yep, purely from a competitive standpoint, this makes sense to me.
I mean, we're really going down the rabbit hole here, but you could expand this idea and you go college football, G5, D2, junior college, and you could do the same thing where you have promotion and relegation the whole way up. And you can have junior colleges play in D2 play, like, if you really want to build out this thing, but, like how much do you want to change it? But if you're trying to make the most of money, get the most eyes on the sport, have the most college football, whatever, then yeah, just expand it to Div 1, whatever you want to name that, G5, D2, junior college, NIAI, like just keep going and just have the whole thing. Have the entire ecosystem, just like they do with soccer leagues or soccer and European how they do promotion and relegation and how they have different tiers of competition.
You don't think that. If you're a JMU fan, I got one on our staff. He looks at it and says, I love it because I love JMU. Totally fine. I'd say the same thing if I were you, Prez. Or if you're a Tulane fan. Or if you're a fan of any team that competes for this.
I go to Tulane. I'm a Tulane, I bleed it. I'm all for it. Ivy League school, some would say. And Tulane shouldn't be in the playoffs. I love that they won the American. I love that they're in it. I enjoyed watching it. I might drive up to Oxford, but they shouldn't be in it.
You want to make it because you want to make it. I am talking about removing that lens and looking at it purely from a logic-based competitive standpoint. No one looks at this and thinks it makes sense. So the argument doesn't come to that. The argument comes to, if we're not involved in the college football playoff, we can't make enough money to survive. And what I'm saying is there is plenty enough money floating around the world of college athletics to get it figured out. That's my point on that whole thing. And it should have long ago gotten figured out, but it still hasn't.
Well, because you have people who are still trying to pull the wool over your eyes and tell you that they're student athletes and that it's all about the love of the game and college football is the most pure sport and it's all about the pageantry. That's why. Like, it's the biggest joke in the world. The idea that they're student athletes, the idea that they're playing for the name on the front of the jersey, they're all just going to class and they're living in dorms and they're playing for their school and they're on camp. Like, it's just a joke. They're making millions of dollars. Coaches are making $50 million to get fired. Players can transfer. Coaches can leave before the play. Like, it is the greediest. It is the opposite of a pure sport for the pageantry or whatever. It is the greediest sport. It is the most shallow sport on earth right now. It is so much worse than the NFL. It is unbelievable. NFL players care so much more about their team and their jersey and their teammates and whatever than college football players do. I remember talking about this last year, and we were talking about rivalries and how, like, why the hell would players care anymore about the Iron Bowl, or why would they care about, Miami versus Florida or whatever? It's like, that worked whenever 80% of the students were from there. But now you're getting someone who's born in California is getting paid $8 million to go to Miami. They don't care about Florida. Like, they don't care about Miami versus Florida or Florida State. They born and raised in California. Why the hell do they care? Like, same exact thing with Texas. Some quarterback born in Washington gets paid to go to Texas. He flies down there. He's been in the state for like 3 months. You think he cares about Texas, Oklahoma? No. He doesn't care about that. He's leaving. He's probably going to transfer after this. Do you think Quinn Ewers, when he got paid to go to Ohio State, do you think he cared about Ohio State versus Michigan? And then he just slides right on back to Texas? Doesn't care about that. Like, all that stuff, like, it's just such a... The toothpaste is out of the tube, ladies and gentlemen. And we can't put it back in and act like, you can't act like it's a pledge week or whatever.
Our friends at FanDuel hit us up early today. They gave us all the numbers.
Okay. All right, there we go. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for watching. Let me know in the comments below what you think. How would you fix college football playoffs? And I will see you in the next video.